ADD family. Hey, we got all the ADD that can be. There is too much AD in me. So, updates. I am working that house you were looking at right there. I'm working for the first time ever in the neighborhood I grew up on. The first house, that one right there, that's where Todd Ruth grew up, aka Todd Ruth. If you know my stories, and if you don't, Todd Ruth was the guy that moved here from Santa Cruz, California, and knew how to build ramps. He helped me build a ramp in my backyard. As I've discussed, my house was the third house in the neighborhood built. We're literally in the neighborhood I grew up in. This is a trip. This is the first time I've worked in this neighborhood ever. Crazy. Like I said, Atlanta is so big. See, straight ahead is a mountain. Let me go. I'm gonna do a quick drive-by. These are for ADD fam who know all of my stories. And when you do, and if you do, and ever get to know all my stories. So I used to talk about we'd go up through the woods and we'd go up on this mountain and trip on acid and stuff. And it's the street to the left. This may even be, I don't know, this road might not even have been built yet. This is looking different. Let me see, I'll know here in a second. I think this is another phase that was the road we're on here. The concrete looks fairly new. This looks like this, well, I don't know. I take that back. This might have been it. Yeah, it looks different. Wow, let's see a motorcycle. See, straight up, we go straight up a mountain and we go straight through those woods. And there's a place at the top. That's Sweat Mountain. Straight ahead, see the life post. You go straight up to the woods, straight up that hill. That's a mountain. We'd go up there and we had a fireplace up there. Me and Mike used to go up there and trip. We'd all go up there and play knives and guns in the woods. We'd go straight up that hill. And then we'd skateboard down this thing. Look, we're going straight down. Whoa! So here's just a little, gonna give you, it's so if you eventually watch all of my stories, videos, and the ones you have watched, so I'm about to tell you, this, that, and the other people's houses. There's this guy, Eric Rayburn, lived right here to the left. I'm still friends with him on Facebook. Eric Rayburn, shout out if you watch. Tyler and Christina Moon down that street. This is the back of the neighborhood. Like I said, I was just coincidentally working right across the street from Todd Ruth's house. Trip. The lady's house I was working on, she's from Brooklyn, New York. And so this is the neighborhood I grew up in and terrorized. So a lot of my stories have to do with this neighborhood. There's different sagas and videos. So I'm about to tell you a little about each. So straight ahead and to the right would be my house. That's more towards the front neighborhood. This is Raven Way. This is, that house right there. That house right there. Was it there? I'll know here in a second. Or there, I think it was that one. That ugly blue house with the basketball goal was right behind my house. That was the house we used to do Nude Run in. And right next door was Master Paul Bates. Yes, you heard it first. Master Paul Bates. When you're a third in your family, or that might have been Master Paul Bates. My house is back there. And when you're the third in your house, when you're the third in your family, say, Robert, whatever, when you're the third of that same name, you become Master. Guy lived behind me and next door was Master Paul Bates. When I said I used to run through the wood, I ran down to my best friend's house. Donovan grew up. This was his house right here. His dad was a mechanic and drank a lot. He had a pool. He had a clubhouse built in his backyard. Doubt it's still there. There was a built a clubhouse behind his house, and we went up in there one time and drank moonshine for the first time. This right here, we're at an intersection. There goes up to the Tobias Walker's house. That went to school. And right here goes down to this girl, Shelby Helms. This girl is a year younger than me. The same girl that told her school, and her school told my school and sent me off to a mental institution at 15. This is that girl. Her family's house is right here. A lot of people know who that is in my realm and world. Her house is right here. Used to come over here and ransack her house. Her dad might have smoked back in the day. They were the Helms. And I went there years later after I got married and said hello, but my wife would get ill and pissed. She found out I was going over this. A lot of stuff went down there. I was at that house, and I hope I'm not upside down now. I was... Damn. Oh, I hope not. I was at her house during I had a baseball all-stars game to go to, and I was on her trampoline. They double bounced her little brother, Michael, and I was getting off the trampoline, and his chin went into my head and split my head open. I still have a scar of the day. I bled like a stuck pig. Blood went all over ruined my baseball jersey. I was in my baseball outfit. Went over there to fart around for a game and wound up having to go straight to the emergency room. All kind of stuff transpired right here when I grew up. All these streets, walk and skate and terrorize the neighborhood. Like I said, we're now going back by Paul Bates and Nude Run Run. Nude Run Run was this girl, Stacy, that lived behind me growing up. As I discussed, my neighbor buddy Mike used to watch his dog, or their dogs, and they go out of town. So that's how Nude Run Run. Back there at that intersection, which I meant to mention, is where where Mike, we had a huge snowball fight, and he blackened this girl Nadine's eye, the one who was involved in Nude Run Run. Straight ahead was the Malafrontes, girls I'd grown up with, and I wound up coincidentally running straight ahead that house, right to the left. Actually, no, straight ahead. Me and Mike were snuck out one night, and that girl's dad peeked out that window up there and was like, "Oh, why is this window open? Oh, what are you kids doing?" So those are the Malafronte girls. Right here, straight ahead and to the right, is the house I grew up in. There again, like I said, I'm working in the neighborhood I grew up in, 488 Four Hawk Trail. As I've discussed, there's my bedroom. The one to the right. Jumped out my window, jumped down, used to sit out on my windowsill and smoke. And as I discussed, I lived right across the street from the neighborhood pool and tennis courts. And to the left of the house was, we'll go back by, it was Chris, the guy who's had a freak weirdo friend that came over. If you haven't seen that video, the kid that had to put his underwear, had to go naked because of his buddy, that was Chris. We're just passing Mike's house. His name is Mike Kramer. He's in a lot of these stories. All this transpired right here in this little area. As discussed, I run down the hill, and then through the woods was my buddy Donovan's house. It was right down here, and that was Donovan's house through the woods. So, like I said, this neighborhood is where a lot of my stories transpired and went down here. All of my childhood stories were right down the street from my buddy John's house. For those of you that don't know that much about me, one of my mad coincidences I talk about is Eric and John are buddies of mine, both in the story. Coincidentally, some 10, 15 years later, after we're buddies, I wind up painting both of their parents' houses. Two guys I'm friends with that live in the same neighborhood. I introduced Eric to John. Two guys live in the neighborhood. Some 10, 15 years later, I wind up painting both of their houses back to back. Not by, any hookup or nothing. By pure mere coincidence. Think about that. Two guys I was friends with in the same neighborhood. I painted both their houses, one right after the other. I mean, those are insane odds. Comment on that. Let me know if people can grasp and understand how awesome and that is. They built a big ass neighborhood outside, right outside. They got, the neighborhood I grew up in was, average blue collar, but all around is white collar. All these big fancy neighborhoods were built since I moved out. That neighborhood's 1 mil plus. Right next to, and then here's a school. This is where we used to meet every weekend and during the winter. And where the school is used to be a farm right here, right? Literally a farm. We'd meet there and play football, and we'd meet up with this neighborhood. We were Falcon Crest, and we'd meet up with Turtle Rock. There's Turtle Rock right down the street. We'd meet at that school every Saturday during the winter and play football, and I'd kick the shit out of the same guy, Russell Burnham, like every weekend, multiple. I couldn't even tell you how many times I fought him and beat him up. I mean, it was comical. But, so yeah, that all happened. This is the church right down the street that we used to play volleyball at. There used to be a volleyball court right where that play thing is, whatever. This is Trickham Road. Makes a left. It goes to where Anthony lived. The house he moved into. I was working outside his house one time, and this guy, I was working in Anthony's backyard. I hear this kid yelling, carrying, screaming, carrying on, right? There was a guy out there trying to kill himself. He was literally running out in front of traffic and yelling and screaming, all that, honest on everything. He was literally, guy was, cuckoo in the head. He was literally running out in front of cars and trying to get cars to hit him, screaming, I want to die, I want to kill myself. Literally watched this unfold. This guy's running out in front of cars. Cars are having to slow down and go by him. He's beating on cars as they go by. He eventually starts a roadblock, right? And then he's got, cars backing up on both sides. And then he ran out, and this car was going by not real fast, but fast enough, and did like one of these swerve moves to go around him. And he ran out and jumped and literally dove at the car. The car hit him, and he went boom, boom. Imagine, running into a car doing 30 miles an hour. He literally hit the car's side and literally bounced off it. Like something you would see in a cartoon, literally. He bounced and tumbled in the road trying to get someone to run him over. That happened right then and there, and then it caused a major roadblock on both sides of the road. There's cars lined up for, a long time, like 50 plus cars on each side, each trying to go through. And here's this kid trying to kill himself. And so a bunch of the people now pulled over. It's like 3 or 4 guys went out there and all held him down and was trying to talk to him. You don't have to do this. It's going to be okay. Get help. You can get help. They called the police, and it wasn't, some dire straits emergency. So, it took a good 5-10 minutes plus for the police to get there. And so there's 3 or 4 guys out there wrestling, not hurting him, not trying to hurt him, but restraining him, had him on the ground until the police got there. So I watched this kid sit there and try to kill himself. I don't know if I ever even told, you'd have to know way too much about me to have ever heard that story before. Here's, all this reminds me of stuff. This is a neighborhood my buddy, this is the neighborhood.